I know that many people criticize Trump. And another fact is his relationship with Hong Kong. This issue is also a very painful one for me. I have some friends who are from Hong Kong and support our Christian reconstruction. However, they have the impression that Trump, in a sense, betrayed Hong Kong, at least during its time of crisis. He did nothing, or did very little. How do we view this matter today? This morning I saw a lengthy and important report from the BBC. It's just another attempt to incite. We know that the BBC has become the overseas mouthpiece of the CCP. Many Hong Kong people are very disappointed with Trump's rise to power, or have already given up their support for him. The reason is what I just mentioned. The first issue I want to address is who is responsible for Hong Kong. First, it is the UK and then the US. This means that the British, including the British media, have no right to criticize Trump and the Americans. The Sino-British Joint Declaration was signed by you British, so you have the primary responsibility, a legal, absolute responsibility, to defend Hong Kong's freedom, yet you shamelessly criticize Trump. This is a shameless country. The British bear an unforgivable guilt for the downfall of Hong Kong. They should repent. They are the ones who did nothing. The second point, need to remember. In fact, regarding these issues in Hong Kong, Trump's and Americans' actions or abilities are limited. They can't really do much. Not much can be done. Fourth point, Trump did do some things, at least under his push. Two, at least, laws protecting Hong Kong human rights were passed despite resistance. You can check for yourselves. The last point I want to make is, how do we view the downfall of Hong Kong? There is a basic common sense in this from a strategic or historical perspective. Who suffers the most from the downfall of Hong Kong? It's not Britain. It's not the United States. It's not Hope. It's China. It's the Western countries. To put it simply, this is a basic common sense. Hong Kong is one of the most important reasons for the rise of the Chinese Communist Party over the past 40 years. Right? No problem. Whether it's reform and opening up, technology input, capital inflow, foreign window, or financial center. Hong Kong is actually the largest rock in the entire 40-year rise of China. Where is the foolishness? This is a suicidal act. After Hong Kong is destroyed, China's economy will immediately turn to recession. There is a causal relationship here. And on this point, including Trump, these cunning Western politicians, actually it's clear as day. If you want to commit suicide and want to kill yourself, why should I stop you? You did something that none of us could accomplish. This is amazing. This is so effective. This is something Western anti-China forces sought but failed. In 2 days, you, Xi Jinping, accomplished it. I am pleased to see this happen. Yes. Some people will suffer and experience pain. But politics is sometimes just politics. I believe there is a group of Western politicians who are actually taking a wait-and-see approach and fanning the flames in 2 places. One is the Russia-Ukraine war, which has effectively shattered 2 major world powers, Ukraine and Russia. In the end, it also drains China's finances and the lives of those poor people in North Korea. Keep fighting, of course, it also benefits a group of arms dealers. Second, Hong Kong. Hong Kong is your treasure in China. It's the pearl of the East. If you want to destroy it, that's your business. Perhaps I am being petty. You don't even cherish it yourself, yet you come back to blame the Americans and Trump. We have talked many times about the annihilation of the Communist Party. The insurmountable path to annihilating the Communist Party is the annihilation of Hong Kong. We sympathize with the people of Hong Kong, as you know, but today we look at it from a broader historical perspective. Perhaps Trump is right. Of course, we just hope that after the new government takes office, they will provide more support to the people of Hong Kong, especially regarding this matter, which we are also advocating for. We are able to rescue Jimmy Lai and Chuo Yu. We have also prayed for this. These are the three major lessons from the history of the fall of Judah that we discussed. To reiterate, immorality, depoliticization, and isolationism are the three major issues in mainstream Christianity and mainstream American politics today. We talked about the King of E in the South, and there was also the King of E. Once again, we see what David Pawson said about the Southern Kingdom having all good kings, or mainly good kings, or that the Chronicles record only good kings, etc. These rumors have been debunked within this genealogy. There are at least 12 of them, with the evil gone. What lessons do these evil kings have for us? Let's turn to the next page. The evil kings of Israel, from Rehoboam to Zedekiah, can be described as a brief history with a beginning and an end, from one king to another. Interesting, yeah, perhaps like this. What does the name Rehoboam mean? It means, long live the people. So I say this is my meaning. Translated, it refers to a God-centered nation that later became people-centered, whether it is a people's democratic dictatorship or democratic republic. It is all a human-centered humanism regime. From that time on, the direction of de-Christianized atheism and natural theology was already determined. This led to the worsening fate of Judah. But by the end of the kingdom, the name Zedekiah shows us some new signs. Zedekiah means the Lord is righteousness. It returns to theocentrism, especially back to the work of God. We do not have time to discuss each of the 20 kings. In the remaining chapters of the historical narrative, we will elaborate on every king mentioned here, including those not mentioned. So don't worry. Today we will only cover some core information related to this theme. Zedekiah's final outcome is very tragic. Kings 25 talks about his end as the Chaldeans captured Zedekiah and brought him to Riblah to be judged by the king of Babylon, where he was killed before Zedekiah's eyes. And they put out Zedekiah's eyes, bound him with bronze chains, and took him to Babylon, where he ultimately met a tragic end. Every word here is a historical fact, showing us the extremely tragic end of the last monarch of the southern kingdom of Judah. This end is related to the sins and evils we just discussed. But history has not come to an end. Last verse of the previous historical narrative actually refers to another Zedekiah in Nehemiah chapter 9. The Jewish leaders were unjustly killed and insulted. In the places of imprisonment and death, they gathered again, began to repent of their sins, and brought the Bible back. Among the Israelites, among the people of Judah, they had a gathering, and in this gathering they prayed, saying, "In all that has come upon us, you are righteous." What does it mean? You are Zedekiah. What you have done is righteous, but what we have done is evil. Nehemiah 9:33 deeply moves me. What does this mean, everyone? I have mentioned multiple times before that I met an Israeli teacher in college who gave me a shock or challenge when he talked to me about the so-called gospel. That is, if God is love and justice. If God is love, why has our Chinese nation encountered so much suffering? Then he asked me back, why does this logic not dominate among the Jewish people? Because there is no other nation on earth that has experienced more suffering than the Jews. But the fact that the Jewish people still believe in God explains our confusion at that time. The tragic ending of Zedekiah and the Jews being taken captive to Babylon in such a miserable fate ultimately led the Jews to such a conclusion. All of this has come upon us indeed because you are just honest, and all we have done is evil. Dear brothers and sisters, where is the hope of the Chinese nation? To this day, we are still the largest group of complainants in the world, and that is history. Throughout the ages, our Chinese nation has suffered greatly, and in modern times, we have found a scapegoat, the ancient scapegoat being the Hu Di Yi. If they can't stir us up, it is indeed the dark oppression of the rulers over the common people. If that doesn't work, it is indeed that the poor mountains and bad waters produce cunning people. In modern times, it is the Western powers and Japanese invasion. The eight-nation alliance today represents foreign forces, hostile overseas forces, and the US trade war. For centuries, the grievances and sins have never had a voice. In all that has befallen us in China, God is just, and what you do is honest, while what we do is evil. This expression of a widow's face, this expression of grievance, seems to suggest that you are the most wronged in the world, you are the most miserable. Can you surpass the Jews? Yet the Jews ultimately have such a reflection. You have to admit they are truly God's people. This is very difficult, everyone. The downfall of the house of Zimri is merely a camp for the 20 kings of Israel. It is just a camp for the entire Jewish people. In the end, they did not resent God, saying we were wrong. What do we learn from studying the Chronicles? It is not about laboring over specific dates and years. We need to focus on this principle and engage in profound self-reflection. Especially this sentence, because what you do is honest, while people are all liars. We fabricate our suffering, we exaggerate our grievances, we exaggerate ourselves, and we exaggerate the evil of the Japanese. We exaggerate and fabricate the conspiracies of the Western powers. What is all this for? To weave a skirt supported by fig leaves to cover our bodies, so that we never confess, never repent, and never believe in the messenger. Only God is honest. So reading through this passage is truly moving, knowing where our way out lies. We are still very far from this point. Study well, the Chronicles of Hearken are as precious as gold. Are the people of Hong Kong really completely innocent? Perhaps what we say today will offend some people. In fact, during the 40 years of reform and opening up, their Hong Kong and Taiwanese businessmen colluded with the Communist Party. They truly deserve what they get, at least those people do. Look at those Hong Kong stars that we used to particularly like. What is all this? Why do I like Teresa Teng now? She is the only one, almost the only one. It's just that the rest will never enter the land of China. So rare. The people of Hong Kong also need to repent. Of course, the bravery and resistance of Hong Kong. What about the cultivated rice cakes? But just relying on that. This point cannot be restarted yet. If you, Hong Kong people, also believe that God is honest. Wearing sackcloth and ashes, perhaps the turning point will begin. It is. Also because of this that God began to rebuild Israel